Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Sneha Koshi. Tonight, we're going to take a backseat from all the politics and elections, and we're going to be looking at something that many would say has been absolutely tremendous. And this has to do with jobs, the Indian psyche, the Gen Z work culture, of how corporates are building themselves, and so much more. So stay tuned. Zomato CEO Deepinder Goyal has had the internet divided. But that's not the only part. The ecosystem from an Indian perspective has not seen something like this in recent past. And we are asking the question, has job hunger been redefined? Has job hunger literally been redefined? Now, let's come to this from an Indian perspective. Many would say we've not seen something like this in the recent past. Let me break this down for you. So Deepinder Goyal put out a post on social media on 20th for the job of chief of staff for himself. Not a conventional role with usual perks is what he said. He made a lot of other claims as well, making job unattractive for most people. Candidates to pay 20 lakh fee to the company instead. 100% of the fee to be donated to Feeding India. And the selected person would work without pay for 1 year and would be offered over and above 50 lakh plus salary after 1 year. But to prove a point that it wasn't a cost-cutting measure, Deepinder Goyal went on to say that Zomato would contribute 50 lakh to charity of the selected candidate's choice. Internet was filled with all sorts of responses. Let's just look at some of the big takeaways. So you had big wigs jump in with offers, taking the concern out of funding, saying for anyone who gets selected but doesn't have the finances to give the company 20 lakh, they would offer the 20 lakh upfront in return for royalties or working for them later. And there were several such offers. There were different offers and there were several offers like that. Now, there were those who were absolutely infuriated with the job description. They accused Deepinder of choosing affluence, privilege, entitlement over merit. And Deepinder, closing the timeline just hours before, said this, that he received more than 18,000 applications and that they would reach out to those that they think are a best fit. Went on to say that this wasn't just another hiring post. 20 lakhs pay was just a filter. The 20 lakh fee that needed to be paid by the person selected to the company was just a filter. Bid to find people who appreciate fast-track career opportunity will reject most of the applications who have money. That's one of the things now that Deepinder has gone on to say. Most of the applications who have money would be rejected. And going to be finding genuine intent, learning mindset. Something like this can only be pulled off once. Goes on to say an important point, that is, hope, pay the company to get a job doesn't become our norm. Now, there are so many aspects to all of this. There are so many layers to this, to how India looks at this, to the different strings around the offers that were made. And better than me to take this forward are my panelists at this point. Let me just introduce them. I'm being joined by Mr. Vijay Tirumalai, who's a founder and CEO, Goldwater Technologies. Sirish Karada, who's an MD and CEO, Bynes Consulting Private Limited. Kishore Subramanian, who's a financial expert. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining us. It's going to be quite a freewheeling conversation. There's going to be no structures to this because at the end of the day, it's about a post that was completely unstructured, or so we think. We don't know what really went behind it all. Let me first come to you, Mr. Vijay Tirumalai. Let me ask you this very straight off. One of the people who went deep dive right into this offer that was made was you. You quote-tweeted it and went on to say that don't worry about the funds, 20 lakh is something that we would offer. I would give it no questions asked, but then you will have to come in and pay me royalties for all the wealth and income that you would generate henceforth. Interesting. What was going on your mind, Vijay Tirumalai?
Sneha, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, right? So first thing, this opportunity, what Deepinder tweeted, I think Deepinder is a generational founder, right? First thing, right? So the kind of wealth he has created from last 15 years is amazing, right? And it was before that. Let me give you an example, right? So how Mr. Sanjeev invested in Zomato, right? When it was Foodie Bay, when Dipinder was a Bain consultant, he used to scan all the menu cards, and everybody in Bain cafeteria looked at his website, and the traffic went, and that's the story of how Foodie Bay started, and Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani invested in him, and he invested about 4 crores in Zomato at for about 18-20% stake. That stake now has gone up about 7,000 times if he had held on. 7,000 times from just a 4 crore investment. But he has sold it in the interim, etc. Right? The point I'm trying to make is somebody who gets selected for this role is going to have enormous leverage, right? He has access to Dipinder's network, contact. He'd be rubbing shoulders with somebody who has redefined India's food industry, right? So what's my thought? So I thought if I can find a way to find the next Dipinder, like how Mr. Sanjeev invested in Mrs. Dipinder, in Dipinder, if you can find a way to invest in Dipinder 2.0, this is the opportunity. Obviously, I got about 75 DMs, right? Sir, can you invest? Sir, can you help? I said, please go ahead. If you
Oh,
find a
okay.
job, 75 direct messages, right? I said, if you find a job, reach out to me. I'll wire the payment to the NGO, no questions asked, right? So that gave the candidates a lot of confidence. I worry about the money, right? So obviously, we're not going to say 10% for the rest of your lifetime. It was just a starter conversation, right? So idea was to find the next Dipinder
Oh, now
2.0.
you are doing a Dipinder on the rest of the people who would be following you. Is it just the fact that both of you are thinking on the same lines? He literally goes on to do the same thing, saying that, oh, the 20 lakh was just a filter, and now you're saying the 10% was, just a conversation starter. You both are
No,
almost on the same lines, Vijay.
we are not the government. I have no way. You know what? If I take this to court, the judge is going to throw this in the garbage the next minute. So I'm not going to. There's no way to, enforce this. Idea was just to see what's the sentiment out there. I got 70 plus DA, right? So my idea is to see if we can invest in people early on, right? And somebody who's got through this job, I'm telling you, he's going to be a super successful entrepreneur. Watch out for this person. It's a most coveted job. You're covering it. Most coveted job right now in the market. He has gone through a pool of 18,000 applicants. It's more coveted than an IMA seat, right? So I believe this person is what is called unicorn, right? Human unicorn, right? I'm sure he's going to do very well. And if there's a way to invest in this person early on, I'd absolutely do it again and again. So that's my 2 cents on this.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, Kishore Subramanian, let me get you in, Kishore Subramanian. How do you look at it? Now, this is also a sector that you follow closely as well for various reasons. With what has happened over the last 24 hours, what do you make out of it?
Okay, good evening. I heard Mr. Vijay very, very cautiously. Let me tell you that this has definitely created a sensation, no doubt about that. But will sensations create a sensational human being? I have no answer to it. I don't think so. It works like that. See, if this was so easy to find the next startup founder, the next Steve Jobs, it doesn't work like that. I don't think so. You can find human beings this way. It can create a lot of fancy, a lot of interest. Somebody can say, I can pay you 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. For all you goddamn know, you might find up a person who will be fired in 3 months. So these are not methods which has any guarantee to it. Point number one. Point number two, is the method a weird method? Obviously, Mr. Dipender is the best judge. I think he knows a lot. He's a great startup founder. He knows what he is doing. It definitely catches the eye. So that amount of novelty adds to many people trying for the job. And maybe out of 18,000, normally you would not get 18,000 applications. Just because you created such a sensation, instead of maybe 500 people applying, now you've got 18,000 people. So that's an added advantage to Zomato. Number three, what really happens is everybody is looking at who this person is. Now, with so much much of eyeballs and attention, it is not going to be easy to perform. It is like saying that you have been picked among the best. Now you have to do something extraordinary. It may work, it may not work. I truly wish all the best for the person who gets selected. But for me, these are side matters. I think Zomato should focus on building more revenue and more EBITDA. That is more important. Twitter sensationalism helps the company in PR, but will it help in bottom line? No, it's a lot of hot air and less of substance.
Okay.
I'm no
Let me
person
ask
to
you
advise
one question,
you.
and
There's
I
a
have
lot of
another
hot
panelist to
air.
go to because you dissed this so strongly. I want to ask you something. You said it may be an extraordinary approach, but it's not going to ensure an extraordinary candidate. Now, what are the chances that a candidate who is selected for this, may not perform? What are the chances given the ecosystem into which this person is going to be? Now, I mean, a lot of things can go wrong, and obviously that's why you have the 1-year clause and the second year on and so forth. I mean, we don't even know how much of that is really true. It's for Dipinder to decide, and I don't have him on the show. But the point is this: look at the ecosystem that this person is going to be getting into. For anyone who wants a job like this, usually it is access that matters. It is access that matters. You need to be somebody. You need to be, it's like a Lutyens coterie. That's literally how it works if you want a post like this. So what's wrong with what happened? I mean, if it gets a post, I mean, whether that person performs or not, that's Zomato's headache, that's Dipinder's headache, and that's that person's headache. But why would you say that it's not likely to be an extraordinary candidate or it doesn't assure? Of course, nothing can assure, but what's wrong with it?
Yeah. I agree with the fact there is nothing wrong with it. You have a lot of fun recruiting a person. That's all is going to happen. Now, there is no guarantee that the ad is a fundamental element to assure anything. Now, without this ad, are you going to get a great person or not? We do not know. So the point is not about the ad. The point is today, in this show, you are discussing the approach. That's the show. This is a great ad, a novel method, a startup founder has done this. Now, this approach fundamentally guarantees you nothing. It is like advertising in the newspaper that I want the world's best spouse and I do a novel advertisement. Is there any guarantee I'm going to get one? No. So it doesn't function like this. Yes, the approach is different. It's their company, their choice.
Sirish Korada, what do you make out of what's happened over the last few years? And I also want to, try and peel the different layers to this, because it isn't as whatever meets your eye and, let's either boo it down or let's just do hurrah for it. That's not really the point. There are so many layers to it. So Suresh Korada, since it's your first comment, what do you make out of this as a corporate person yourself?
Thanks, Neha, and appreciate the opportunity. And I've listened to Vijay and Kishore, and I have interesting perspectives. I'd like to take a perspective of, what does this mean for the individual, the successful candidate at the end of the day? Look, it's pretty clear that Goyal is a very successful entrepreneur. He doesn't need to do this, right? But why is he trying to do this? Let's try to figure that out as well. He's trying to challenge the paradigm. He's trying to innovate in business, right? He's known for innovation, right? This is, for me, if this is not a gimmick, because how many colleges will give you this opportunity, right? Also, if you were trying to follow a traditional path or an organic path, right, it would take an average person, and if they're lucky, at least 10 plus years to land such a role, right? This opportunity, for the successful candidate will give you industry experience, exposure, access to influential people, and this could, create an awesome opportunity for somebody in the future. And if the narrative is that this is all, all these monies are going to charities, so why not? I think we should I think we should support, and it is a very different way of doing things.
And what would you say to
that.
this is plain, simple, innovative PR?
I think from a company perspective, it could be, but I look at it at the end of the day for the successful candidate. Look, I think Kishore made a point. There's no guarantee of success, and I completely agree with that. But the traditional method also does not guarantee any success, right? So as an individual, the successful candidate who gets this, why not? Why not try this out?
Okay.
Come in.
Okay, Kishore, you want to come in? All right, and Vijay also wants to. So, Kishore, go ahead, go first. We'll go to Vijay after you.
I'll give you a counter view. Now, the moment you do such a methodology where there is a novelty in picking somebody, the likelihood of failing is probably a little more higher than success. And let me tell you why. See, whenever you try some freaky style, the probability of success goes down because it's not convention. You might end up giving a chance, a challenging opportunity to a newbie. You might end up giving to somebody who will talk very well but will not work. See, I have a son of 19 years old. He can talk phenomenally well. That doesn't mean that today, if he can be given a chance to become a startup founder, he's going to be amazing. Experience does matter. All said and done,
You know,
the
Kishore,
brass tacks,
I'm
the
all
sincerity,
smiles.
the knowledge matters.
I'm
So
all
these things can
smiles
freakily
hearing
go
you
wrong.
as well as the other panelists. But Kishore, are you listening to yourself? You are essentially saying somebody who's doing out of the box or thinking out of the box. And by the way, let me just be upfront about this. I am not patting Dipinder's back. That's just not what I am doing. I have no relation to whatever this. We're just, as I said, it's a freewheeling conversation. We're just trying to peel different levels to what's happening in this. Now, Kishore, if you're saying that there's nothing which is going to come out of this. It's not always going to be a great product that emerges out of this. Isn't that what a startup ecosystem and eventually startups that make their way up, that become these unicorns and big companies, isn't that all about this? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because...
So listen to my answer. Listen to my answer carefully. I'm not throwing any accusation. Mr. Dipender is a great person. He has done a great startup. So the first point is startup is all about challenging the paradigm, challenging the status quo, everything fine. But to run the business, you need absolute serious insight, experience, knowledge, and practical way to do things. So the mere novelty as a factor within quotes is not a guarantee of function. A guarantee of function is experience, sincerity, honesty, and novelty. It's only and novelty. Novelty cannot be the basis. So the guy whom you're going to select, if he's going to be out of the box, maybe you will get a great guy also. I'm not denying that you cannot. But these freaky chances are very, very rare, because if that was the available opportunity in the market, you would not have had one Dipender, but thousands in India. It doesn't happen. It is not so easy.
Okay, let me come in. And that's a very important point you're making. And I genuinely want to get into this space. Vijay, if I can get you in. So look at Kishore, what he's saying. That if this was the reality of the opportunities around, you would not have had only one Dipinder. Vijay, how many people do have these opportunities?
Sneha, I think we are mixing things. Just because you're able to cut, I think cutting through the noise is one of the highest skill you can have right now, right? You have every job application, you have 10,000, 20,000 applications. If you're able to cut through the noise, get in front of the table and make your case cogently, that's 95% of the job done, right? So I'm not sure why it is mutually exclusive that a person who cuts through the noise will not be able to do the job well. And secondly, we're talking about, it's such a high profile job in the sense about the media eyeballs is generated, right? So in terms of interview process, I trust it. So I'm not like a generational, all this is hard earned money. When I say I'm willing to cut a 20 lakhs check, the big bet I'm taking is I'm willing to take the bet on Dipinder's ability to interview and recruit a high agency, high ethics person. High agency and high ethics are the cornerstone.
Without this method also, by the way. That can be done without this method also, by the way.
No. So this can be done.
Sure. Give us a minute. Give us 2 minutes more. Give me a minute more. Vijay, go ahead.
It's the very fact that, when you talk to your friends, Neha, you'll have about 50% saying it's a good thing, 50% saying it's a bad thing. But imagine if this message was sent out by an Infosys or Reliance chairman, 100% of people will say it's bad. So that's the good karma which Dipinder was able to generate with the public, right? Because he's a generational, he's built a generational company. And Mr. Kishore is talking about, Zomato should focus on profits, EBITDA, etc., right? It's worth 2,32,000 crores from all the way from 50 rupees a share. It's gone to 50 rupees, about 5x in last 2 years. July 2022 was a generational dip buying opportunity. It was 50 bucks a share. Now it's 250 bucks. So he knows more than 95% of businessmen on how to run a business. So it's not either or saying that, this candidate may not do well in the job, or, Zomato should focus on EBITDA profit, which they are, right? But look at the mind share, what they're able to have in the public. That you should give it to them. Every week, Zomato is able to do something or the other to get the mind share and the eyeballs of the public.
I'm running short of time. Very quickly, Dipinder. Very quickly, Kishore, let me just come into you at this point. Kishore, so my question at this point is, with the last offer, the last post that Dipinder did make, and that post was about how it was not the 20 lakh rupees, it was just a filter, it was a way to get to the psyche of the people who would be applying. And he goes on to say, this is interesting because a lot of people said that when he gave the advertisement of 20 lakhs, a lot of people said that you are just basically going for entitlement and privileges. And then when he put his final post out, where he says that, it's 20 lakh is just a filter for that matter. And we may even not be looking at those who have the money. What do you make out of that? And Sirish, this question will be same for you, but Kishore, to you.
Okay, so if you say 20 lakh is just put out and then it is not going to be a filter, we may not be looking at people who have the money. So it is basically saying that I have got a creative ad, but now I'll be looking at a proper person. I just wanted more resumes to come to my inbox. Fair enough, you still have the choice of doing that. It's your company, you have your own way. But see, let's be very, very clear. If you have the best of the unicorns and the best of the top staff in about, let's say, 100 unicorns, and let's say 10 people are there in each of the unicorns just for mathematical ease, you have 1,000 Indians who are doing the best of the jobs in the whole country. Don't assume 10 lakh people are there. Half the graduates are unemployable in this country. So let's not think that mere volume of application is going to be a guarantee that, oh, wow, a new method and you're going to get a couple of Steve Jobs there out. No, I don't believe these methods are going to be anything to do. Yes, it can attract eyeballs, keep you in the news, great PR stunt, maybe you'll get somebody, but the process has no relationship with the outcome. Therefore, the process for me is a dud, good waste, good PR job done, but doesn't add any value to the organization. No EBITDA is going to be improved by this PR stunt.
Okay. Okay, Sirish Kurada. Now, my question is, to add to what I asked Kishore. I mean, is there something deeper? Is there a deeper churn that's happening in the ecosystem? Many are saying jobs are far and less than what it ought to be in the Indian economy. There's a pushback. There's a decline in purchasing power. There's something that's happening in the Indian economy that it's not very tangible at this point. There's a lot happening. But with what's happened with Dipinder Goyal's post, is there a deeper churn at how the younger generational corporates, startups are looking at hiring, or is this like a one-off case?
No, I think you're spot on, Sneha, because it is a generational change. Traditionally, as education and the education systems evolved, there is now a better recognition across individuals, students, and as well corporates about the value of industry experience. And my point is twofold here, right? One is not everybody is lucky enough to get such an exposure or experience, right? And the second thing is, I would say, is, and I could be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but why do we think that Dipinder is going to only pick a fresher or a young graduate? I know of people, and we would been discussing this. It's quite active and quite a a talked about point and a discussion topic. There's a lot of people who have a lot of experience that are also interested in this role, right? So all the rules are not laid out yet, and I think things will go with the flow. But I don't see anything wrong with getting eyeballs for a job. I mean, if I'm trying to, if I'm trying to hire somebody, I want to make sure that the top talent is, looking at that, and we try to attract top talent. So getting eyeballs is also a big plus.
Okay, okay. I think this can go into so many levels, but I'm totally out of time. Vijay Tirumalai, Sirish Korada, as well as Kishore Subramanian, thank you very much for your time. One thing that we all would agree with, irrespective of whether you agree with how Dipinder Goyal went about doing what he did, or you totally disagree with what he did, India's psyche is deeply reflective in that post at so many levels, and particularly how the job markets are reacting at very intuitive levels. Nonetheless, it is a long way ahead for this to become something more often seen and more of a trend. But access being a big, big issue largely across the corporate and the non-corporate sector, including the sector that I am in. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining us. Your inputs have been absolutely valuable. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's time for a very short break. On the other side, all the latest.